I love that quite a few of the family celebrations, birthday celebrations, are in summer, and so it allows me to take these beautiful white peaches that are so fragile, so ripe, and I'll peel them and puree them, and then we'll make our own Barossa bellinis with some sparkling wine and the juice or the puree of the white peaches. It's great for celebrations. You can only do it when you have those beautifully ripe peaches. But talking about ripe peaches, these Albertas, these beautiful yellow peaches, so moorish, but once again, picked ripe off the tree. Now, as an orchardist, that's the hardest, I think it's the hardest agricultural pursuit you can have. And what's worse is it's almost impossible, unless you're buying from a farmer's market or from the orchard itself, to get fruit of this quality. So I am very spoilt. But of course, I take advantage of that. And last Tuesday, we did a whole pile of preserving, nectarines and peaches. Now, the thing about preserving is you need a preserving kit, as far as I know. I've never done it without it. But we preserve with just water, no added sugar. There's so much flavour in these. There's so much flavour in this fruit because it's been picked ripe, but still a bit of firmness so it can take the cooking, and that means we have it for breakfast all through the year. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I thought I should show you what I picked from given that they're from our farm orchard, this is from home orchard. Apples, pears that we pick and then they ripen off the tree. These are golden drop plums that just bear so amazingly that it's an embarrassment, but cut in half, drizzled with a tiny little bit of butter and baked. They're wonderful. These we picked yesterday. Honestly, they're just tiny little capsicums. We put them on the barbecue. Just tossed with olive oil, and we sear them. We don't peel them, just eat them like a lolly. And of course, tomatoes and basil and rocket and parsley. I love every season, but the abundance, and this is just from my garden. I better get cooking. Welcome to home, to my kitchen, to summer, to 2021 being a good year for us all. Let's hope. But when you're surrounded by the bounty of ripe fruit, picked ripe, so you know it doesn't just look beautiful, it is perfect eating. I sometimes worry that some people have never had the experience of ripe fruit. So I'm making a tart, a galette we'll call it, because that's a way of saying it's very rustic and you can just make it happen. I thought today I would use a sour cream pastry, but using wholemeal flour, but half wholemeal and half white. So I'll just mix those together a little. But the thing is about that, I could just as easily have used spelt flour. I could have used 3/4 wholemeal and 1/4 plain flour. So you really can just go for the flavour and the quality and the variety that you want. Now, what have we here? The difference is there's nothing absolutely certain when you make a pastry as to how much moisture will be needed, because every day it's a little bit different. If there's humidity, if there's rain, if it's really dry, all of those things change. So you have to use instinct. So I'm going to make it in the food processor because that's the whole thing about this sour cream pastry. You hardly have to handle it. And isn't that a good thing? It's going to be these beautiful peaches, but also I just happen to have a little almond butter. and I thought I could just put that at the base of the pastry, but let's do the pastry now. I know you've seen me do it before, but I thought just one more time. I use 200 grams of butter, now either cubed or grated. Grated is even better always if you're doing it by hand because it's much quicker, but the main thing, whether it's cubed or grated, is that the butter is done in advance and is very, very cold. I'm going to put the butter in, and I will do nothing more than pulse it and to pull it together. That is enough. What you have there is just rough breadcrumbs, and you've got pieces of butter. I want the pieces of butter to be showing. 2 to 3 pulses is all it takes. Then the basic recipe usually takes 125 mils of sour cream. It will be different every time, so we'll start with near that. Sometimes a flour like wholemeal or spelt takes more moisture. Pulse again. I just want enough moisture in there to start to pull it together in the machine, and I don't want it to make a ball. That would be too much moisture, but you can see, just listen. You can, yes, it's all coming together now. So that's how quick the making of this is, and I'll just put some flour out on the bench. See how it's coming together, but it's not in a ball. But I don't want to put it into a ball because I'm not going to roll it at this stage. I'm purely going to make it into a flat disc, and I know it has the right amount of moisture because you can see how it comes together, right? So, but still bits of butter visible. That is your sour cream pastry made to stage 1. I wrap it and put it in the fridge for only 20 minutes because I don't want it to go so hard that it's difficult to roll. And so 20 minutes into the fridge, and by having it in a flat disc rather than a ball, it's much easier to manage. Now I know I want to have a rough circle, but it's easier if I give myself, in the flour, I give myself a bit of a guideline, bit of flour on the bottom, bit of flour on the top, and now we just roll it out to about 1/8 inch thick. It's quite malleable. The sour cream and the butter makes it beautifully malleable. Okay. Now, people who really do this well have a much more dexterous way of handling this. But I've got more than I need because I want it thinner. So I have my rough circle. I have oiled the bottom of the tray I'm going to cook on, and I will simply put it on here and put it in the fridge to rest, because as soon as you work with pastry, you need to let it rest again. And then I'm going to put the peaches in the center and roughly fold over the edges. But you'll see that happen into the fridge. But the leftovers, I never screw up into a ball. I always make a nice little pile, and I can then use that. I can freeze that off and make it for a base of a pie that perhaps I do a rough puff top. So I'll just put it together in a circle, and with that paper that I had, I will freeze it off. Now, for all my baker friends, they will be turning their toes up at this, but I just want to show you just how easily you can make the most of some beautiful fruit. So I've got 4 peaches here. I've got a tablespoon of flour. I won't use it all. I'll only use half of it actually. And I'll just toss them, and that's just to let, oh, perhaps a little more. That's just to pick up the juices so it doesn't ruin the pastry. Okay, now I have some almond butter. I did have some macadamia butter too, but it was a bit too thin. I'm merely going to spread that onto my circle, and I'm just sort of putting it on the base. It's an optional extra. It just goes so beautifully though with the peach, be it the almond or the macadamia. Okay, now I'm just going to pile the peach on top of the macadamia. That little bit of flour is evident, but it's just handy to have. Oh, I probably have got enough peach, yes. This, you could do it in beautiful concentric circles, and those that are more perfect than me would. I'm going to fold this over because it is a galette. I'll put it back in the fridge for just a few minutes, and I will get some pastry, a pastry brush, and just brush the sides. But you can see the concept of it. And when I say brush the sides, just with an egg wash, with, in fact, I might just use some cream. That does it beautifully too, because that's even less bother. That's what I'm trying to get to, less bother. So I'll put it in the fridge while I get that organized. And remember, we're talking rustic here. So, into the oven, 220 degrees. This took 30 minutes. I kept it at 220 degrees the whole time because the pastry, the spelt pastry, everything changes a little bit, so you keep on adjusting. It is the most rustic pie you might ever make, but I can tell you, I can smell it so strongly. It just smells of all those beautiful things, including the butter pastry, the peaches that are just so ripe, and it'll do me.